morning, everybody. Welcome to another weekend wrap up here on Shelbyville Now. I'm David Thomas, and across from me is Mr. Josh Blevins with his Southern Cup.
Yes, I do have my Southern
What
Cup.
are we drinking today?
Creme Brulee Breve, as always, from Southern Cup.
And who is paying it forward today?
Nobody paid it forward today.
Nobody did
but
that.
I had my punch card full, so I still got free coffee. Man, I'm cheap.
Man, how do you pull this off, Josh?
Yeah, I'll have to pay next weekend.
So, yeah,
I'll have to pay. But it's still good.
Yeah. I've got my homebrew here.
Your homebrew?
And my little Yeti thing, my dooger.
Well, it's good stuff.
Before we go to thanking our sponsors, you got anything breaking this morning? Anything happening today that everybody needs to know about? It's kind of quiet.
It's kind of quiet now. We're in election season. We'll just briefly touch on that in a second, but it's kind of quiet. I think they're doing a little cleanup on the Duck River this morning.
Yes.
I saw a little event for that.
And we do have cleanup coming up next week too, citywide.
We'll talk about. Pick up your bulk pickup.
Are we going to talk about that a little bit?
I didn't have it in my rundown, but we just talked about it.
All right, and there's some rules and regulations. I need to go to the city website and check.
City website has it. Also, we reposted that, I think, to our Facebook earlier this week.
Last week. It breaks down what to do and not to do. So don't forget that. It's an opportunity for you to get rid of some junk.
Yeah, they come by and pick it up, bulk pickup, pretty much most stuff. I think there are regulations.
My wife and I were talking about this the other day. We have the gray trucks bringing the stuff, and then we have to haul it off 2 years later.
The trash off. So, yes, that's how it works.
That's
exactly how it works.
All right, well, we want to stop right now and thank our sponsors. We want to thank the Dream Team.
Yep.
The Arnolds, Diane Madison Arnold from Coldwell Banker.
Yep.
And we also want to
Cutting Edge Optical.
Yeah, Cutting Edge Optical and Dennis Young Insurance. We'll hear from them. We're going to come back and dive into, it looks like a pretty good agenda to go down through here today.
Yeah, a lot of quick hit items. I think I went through a lot of stuff. We talked about that last week. I had a full week. So.
Oh, yeah, you did. And we'll be right back after we hear from our sponsors.
For clear vision and trusted care, choose Cutting Edge Optical. We offer comprehensive eye exams powered by 20/20 exams, expert contact lens fittings, and a wide selection of quality frames to match your style and budget. Need glasses fast? We even offer same-day eyeglasses to keep you seeing clearly without the wait. Our experienced team is committed to personalized service and helping you see your best every day. Visit Cutting Edge Optical at 1114 North Main Street in Shelbyville, or call 931-488-5778 to schedule your appointment today.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
When you're ready to buy or sell in Middle Tennessee, you want someone who knows this community inside and out. Meet Diane and Madison Arnold, Shelbyville's trusted real estate team with decades of local experience and award-winning results. Whether it's finding your dream home, pricing your property to sell, or navigating every step of the transaction with confidence, they're with you from start to finish. As part of Coldwell Banker Southern Realty, they pair hometown expertise with powerful market tools to help you move with confidence. Call Diane and Madison today and experience the personal service and local knowledge that makes all the difference.
All righty, welcome back in here to the weekend wrap-up. Mr. Josh Blevins, dive in and tell us what's happened this past week.
I actually did notes this week. Last week, we kind of jumped without a parachute. So I did my notes so I wouldn't forget anything this week because I went to a lot of stuff. This wasn't anything I went to, but just want to continue to point out we've been posting every day the numbers, but early voting is currently going on in the Bedford County primary election. Continues through April 30th. You can vote at the courthouse annex from 8 to 5 Monday to Friday and 8 to noon on Saturday. In the first 3 days, we had a whopping 452 people show up.
And you know, I've had some conversations this week that I understand why you only have 452, because a lot of people still do not understand what a primary is, Josh.
Well, that, and if a lot of people in the city honestly don't know there's a county election even going on.
I know, and they live in the county.
Yeah.
And that's mind-boggling to some folks that they live in the county.
Yeah,
We can't go down that path, but that's something people need to start paying attention to.
Yeah.
You're in Shelbyville, you live in Beaver County.
You
That's
also live in
interesting.
Beaver County. 100% of the people that live in Shelbyville
Live in Beaver County.
So,
Right.
yeah,
And they do have county representation.
they do. They have
All right.
2 county commissioners.
All right.
no matter where they live.
Off that soapbox real quick.
Yeah, so go out and vote. Lots of races. Well, not lots of races. There's a few races. Even if you're in a county district that doesn't have commissioners in the primary, you've still got a choice for your next property assessor and your next county mayor. So
Right.
there's a reason to go. Just connected to that real briefly, I want to touch on, we posted a couple days ago, I did, that the House, Tennessee State House passed the bill prohibiting county employees from serving on county commissions going forward. However, they watered it down a lot. They added amendments.
Two
as tends to
amendments.
happen.
Yeah.
And the big one is, as long as you're sitting in a county commission seat as of January 1st, 2027, you are permanently grandfathered into that seat as long as you continue to get reelected.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
key there. Continue to get reelected.
Yeah, they
you
can
can't
vote you
have
out.
that chair can be ripped right out from under you.
They can vote you
Okay.
out, and then you can't get back in the chair. But if you are in the chair as of January 1st, you
And
can
then
stay in the chair.
educators can.
Correct. That actually, and that has not passed. That's a Senate amendment.
Right.
But I watched the House hearing for the committee before the House voted on this. And the attorney at that hearing already said that it was his understanding that even if this bill passed without the amendment, that if you work for the school system, this bill did not
Yeah.
affect you, because they felt like
Yeah.
local education agency is a separate entity from county government.
We're going to talk. We've
So-
got a statistic later. We're going to talk about down the road here about why that could be based
Yeah.
on percentages.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where that's going. As far as meetings I attended, I started Monday morning at the city pre-planning meeting, bright and early, Monday at 9:00. Very light agenda. A couple items I did want to point out that were on there, though, that people may not know about. Valvoline instant oil change coming onto North Main Street next to Seven Brew. This was the first time we'd seen their site plan, so that is coming down the road.
So that will be our third quick oil change place. One being the Walmart Service Center.
Oh, I
And
didn't even
then-
think of that.
Yeah, and then Strickland Brothers
The one
on
on-
Madison
the one on
Street. So
Madison.
this will
So-
put us one on North Main.
Yes.
Um,
Across from Walmart.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is one that we've talked about several times. Victory Park continues to move forward. That's 150 townhomes behind Victory Baptist Church. They brought their construction drawings. And then there was discussion of a possible amendment to the zoning ordinance that would allow liquid asphalt storage within the city limits. So wasn't a deep discussion because everybody wasn't at the meeting, but they are considering a possible liquid asphalt storage
Yeah.
within the city, and they're going to do some research on that.
for the old school people, that would be considered hot mix.
Is that
That's
what that
the
is?
terminology, hot mix.
I figured it's hot asphalt of some kind.
That's
So,
exactly.
yeah. So they're looking into that. Tuesday evening, we had the Senior Property Tax Freeze Committee. That is a joint committee between the city and county government. I sat on that committee. We had some animated discussion for, it was a little shorter than normal because the Tanya was supposed to, our trustee was set to give her report. She'd given it to us in paper form last month. She was set to give it this meeting. She had a family issue that came up at the last minute. She wasn't able to present it. We did discuss her report as much as we could from the paper copy. And then we just had a little more discussion of whether or not a tax freeze is good. And then we sent it forward to the Rules Committee and the City Council. As I discussed, I think last week, maybe with you or a couple weeks ago, we decided to do it without a recommendation because we're a joint committee. I didn't feel good sitting
As
in
a
city
city.
government recommending or not recommend either way to county officials, and I didn't feel like the city really recommendation coming from county officials, same thing. So we sent them the information. We did the work. They've got all the information. I've had a busy week. I didn't have time to edit the video yet, but hopefully by this weekend, there will be a video of this last meeting out, which will be the final piece to the puzzle. And then this will go forward to the two bodies, the county and
Yeah.
the city, for them to consider and decide, hopefully at least take a vote on it.
There's a lot of public confusion on this, Josh.
Yeah.
The term senior property tax freeze does not mean property
not mean-
taxes go away.
Does not mean
And I keep
tax
hearing-
elimination.
I know it.
Tax
People
freeze.
keep saying
Freeze is
that
the
these
key word.
senior adults, these criminal senior adults trying to evade paying their property tax. No,
No.
it's locking it in where it's at. The current rate.
It's locking it in at the rate that they are at. In this case, if we were to happen to accidentally get this passed this year, it would lock it in at whatever rate your taxes are after this reappraisal that we're going to talk about in a minute. And then it would be that going forward as long as you continue to meet the qualifications.
Okay.
So
I don't know. Everybody I talk to that understands it says, well, that's a no-brainer. Well, yeah, of course. That's what we need to do for these folks. I mean, it is really who's against this. That's what I'm thinking in my brain. You know, who in the world could possibly be against this? All right. So you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
But that's what
Right.
I'm watching real close.
yeah,
It's just a
yeah.
citizen.
The pushback is, I mean, there were several arguments raised, and you'll see them on the video once I stop slacking off and get it posted. The argument, the first argument raised was, we're in election year. There's going to be a new county commission and new people, and we don't want to dump this burden on them. So make them make the decision. I don't agree with that one at all.
That's crazy.
The second argument raised is this puts additional work on 2 of our county departments, which it does.
That's what their job is.
Yeah, but
I get
that does add some cost.
It
burden
adds
to the
some
budget.
costs.
So
I
there's
get
some
that. I get
cost.
that.
Yeah,
but
it's
this
not
is if this
completely
is what
free.
the people
Yeah.
want, and obviously it is what the people want. Now,
Yeah.
whether or not our elected representatives vote in that direction or not is another question. But that's public service. That's what happens there. And I get that it might cost a little bit more, but can't we do something for these folks that are borderline, losing their farms, losing their homes? Those that just can't afford another penny, they have to make the decision of whether they're going to buy their drugs or pay their property taxes. Let's give them just a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
The third major argument that we get is that this shifts a cost burden from people above 65 to people under 65.
Only when there's a tax increase.
Only when there's a tax increase. But even in that case, that's why we did the study. We presented the
Right.
numbers. The actual dollars involved
Not much.
are so small in the scope of the
Yeah.
budget that they can be absorbed by just normal budget variance. You don't have to. I'd heard mentioned by somebody the other day that if we raise property taxes after the freeze 10 cents, we'd have to raise it 12 cents because of the quote unquote burden from the seniors. But it's not that big of a dollar figure. When you're looking at the budget, you got the two sides. You got your revenue coming in, you got your expenses going out. As long as you continue to be conservative on the expense side, you don't have to raise the revenues and cover this dollar amount. It's such a small percentage of the overall picture.
We could just clean up our crumbs, Josh, and pay for this. And by the way, we should be doing that anyway.
We should already be, but yeah,
But we still
it's
have
another
crumbs.
incentive to do more conservative budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but honestly, the people out there, if you want this, you need to tell your representatives to do this and do it now. That's just
Yeah, county commissioners, you got one if you live in Bedford County.
That's right.
You have 2 that represent
That's
you
right.
no matter where you live in the county. So, so that was that meeting. We immediately went from that meeting into the county commission meeting across the hall. Big item on the agenda was the quarterly reports. I forgot last week that was coming. I didn't do my over and under on how many people. were
3,
gonna
4.
present.
What do we have?
I don't even remember. It was lighter than normal because of Tanya not being able to be there. So I think maybe 4 were there. So it was pretty light as far as people that showed to give the report.
Not much on reporting. Okay.
The only numbers that I wanted to cover out of that was that the county has, and these are just dollar figures I like to get every quarter, just so we know, the county has $149 in the bank combined between all the fund balances. And of that, $60.5 million are sitting in the debt service fund. So the debt service fund is the big bulk of a lot of our money sitting in the
We're
bank.
expecting to do a lot of debt. Obviously.
That is going to be used for future school
Expansions.
projects
Yeah.
mainly, but also other capital expenses. So
Yep.
I got a quick question from the comments I'm going to try to cover, although I didn't bring my numbers with me. Brian Cruz wanted to know, what is the difference in cost to execute versus the savings afforded to the seniors? 100% of what they call the lost revenue cost goes to the senior. They get all
Right.
of that cost. There is the slight cost of the departments running the operation, running the senior tax freeze. We don't have a solid number on that cost. I can tell you that Putnam County reviewed the same program 2 years ago, which is the one that I talked to. They're the most recent ones that implement the program. they estimated their cost was going to be $130,000 a year, which I thought was crazy. They got budget numbers 2 years later, and the actual cost to run the tax freeze was nothing like that. Ran the combined budget increase for both of their departments, I want to say, without having the numbers in front of me, was like $60,000 to $80,000 over 2 years, and that included their normal step raises and cost of living raises and stuff. So I would say low five-figure cost as far as actually running the tax freeze program. And then the quote unquote cost, which everybody looks at, which they say is the cost burden, the saving to the senior, they get 100% of that property tax saving. When the tax rate goes up and theirs doesn't, all that money stays in their personal bank account to use for medicine, for food, for whatever.
Okay. So that's let me tell you how this works in the private sector, Josh. If you get an added burden thrown on you to do some things administratively, most small businesses suck it up and just do it.
Yeah.
And they work a little extra. They don't sit down and take breaks as much. They just have to get it done. And there's stuff like that comes up in small business all the time. You get a new report every day from some government agency to fill out. Okay. Well, you don't go hire somebody. You just get it done with who you got. That's the way the real world works. Okay. And I'm quite sure we could implement this in the government, because there's a lot of people that have probably downtimes. Just saying.
Yeah, they're going to look at it as an hourly and,
of course,
and try to put a tax dollar for you, but it's not in a, if it was a crazy cost, absolutely it would be a bad program, but it's not. That's why we looked at those numbers, and that's why we've been putting out those reports. Where are we at? Okay, debt service. Yeah, real quick, $60.5 million there. That is going to come into play. We're going to talk about the school board in just a minute. I think some of that money is going to get used by the school board, hopefully in the upcoming year, on a project that they're looking at. So Wednesday morning, went to the 911 board. This was the first meeting in the new 911 comm center here in town, which is just about done with construction, very close on construction. They are waiting on furniture and tech. They will be in there whenever the furniture and tech is ready. They don't have an estimate because they got to wait on the furniture and tech. So it could be a few months, it could be several months, but the building looks great. They've spent a lot of money on it. It's a fortress. If there's a tornado, run and hide in that building. It's very solid. Additionally, they got a bill passed through the legislature this session that is going to increase the 911 surcharge on everybody's phone line
by
a few cents. I know that's great.
That's great.
But that is going to increase the funding to the 911 system, which is going to allow them to keep a balanced budget, they're hoping. So they have to keep a balanced budget. It's going to allow them to keep operating at the level that they're at and keep their budget balanced. So that they were happy to have that, and they spoke about that at the meeting. So Thursday morning, Railroad Authority, always a very exciting meeting. So I was at the Railroad Authority. We had on this is the Walking Horse Railroad. It runs from Wartrace into the city of Shelbyville. It is called a short line railroad because it is a short line. It's a very short line. 1,186 carloads in 2025 was the final report we got. That is up from 860 the previous year. They have been concerned about funding. They continue to be concerned about funding, but as this was the legislative session just is wrapping up, they were fortunate to find out that the state at the last minute threw another $20 million, I think it was, into short line railroads, which means that our local one will be getting about $350,000 in funding. They're going to turn around and use their funding this year as part of a match to try to apply for what is called a federal CRISI, C-R-I-S-I.
What does that stand for? Do you know?
It was on my paperwork and I didn't write it down. It's an acronym.
Everybody acronyms.
But they're going to try to turn that $350,000 into $3.5 million, which is what that would do. So that is the goal. They said this is unlike some of those grants that we hear about, they said they've applied for 10 of these in the past, got 9 out of 10. So that's pretty good odds. Even if they don't get the $3.5 million project, they don't lose the $350,000 that would continue to stay with them, and they could just use that on smaller projects. But they'd rather obviously have $3.5 million.
Because then you can justify it with the amount of carloads increase there. That means there's some kind of economic activity taking place.
There's activity happening, and actually,
what is the predominant amount? It's coming down out Railroad Avenue, of course. So is there what do you have?
There's a feed, and there's some kind of feed operation there. There's the metal recycling.
So a combination of those businesses,
like
right
4
there.
big businesses that use it. And I will say, going back to the thing that we talked about in pre-planning, if the city is able to come to an agreement and do liquid asphalt storage, part of the way we would get that facility would be it requires rail access to be cost effective. So that they would be on this short line. They would become the 5th major customer of the local railroads. So all kind of working together, try to spur a little economic activity there. A little industrial
Nothing's wrong with that.
So, yep. So Thursday evening, school board meeting. I was at that one. They met at Chevville Central over there in the library. So
Yeah.
I had never been to the library. It took me about 4 different attempts to get into the right part of the building to find the library. But I
Okay,
did get
you
in.
finally
So
made it,
I made it. Our friend, Commissioner John Beltwell, gave what I feel is an annual presentation. I've seen him give this, I think, to the Finance Committee.
Yep.
I've seen him mention this at county commission meetings. This may have been the first time I'd seen him present it to the school board, but I bet he has in the past, on funding for Bedford County schools versus the rest of the state of Tennessee. So where do you think we're at in funding? in
Well,
Bedford
I've
County?
cheated and I've looked,
You
but
cheated. You got
not
the
very,
notes.
not very good. Okay.
We're not doing very well with local funding for Bedford County schools.
Right.
There are 142 school districts in the state of Tennessee. These are public local education agencies. These are not
Right.
obviously
They would be
excluding private
city
and
school systems and county school systems.
systems that have a mix of state and local funding, because
Right.
there actually are a few that he mentioned that have just state funding that don't have a local
Right.
element. So, but there are 142 that have mixed funding. All of those districts get what is called, and I can't remember the official name for this, but they get reviewed by 2 organizations, TASSER, and then a group at the University of Tennessee, I think it's the Boyd Center, looks at those local governments and sets a minimum funding floor based on demographics, based on income information, based on population, based on all those fancy things. They get a fancy formula. They give you a dollar figure, and then the local government theoretically has to at least hit that dollar figure,
Mhm.
but preferably they need to give more than that dollar figure.
Right.
Of those 142 school districts, we are 4th from the very bottom of the list as far as how much we fund using local dollars, our school system. We give, and I did put this number down, 3.39% is the tiny amount we give above the bare minimum.
Right.
So there actually were a couple there that were below the minimum, and I don't know how they get away with that. But most school systems, I think the averages that he gave were in the 70 to 80% above the bare minimum. And you had a number that gave double or even more the bare minimum. So we are just barely scraping the bottom, 4th from the bottom. And then in the South Central District, if you just want to compare us to districts of similar size and location within the state, so exclude Williamson, Rutherford, they got money, they got people, they got, Davidson, leave all those out of the picture and just focus on us and Lincoln and Moore and
Franklin,
stuff like us,
Giles,
Franklin, all the stuff
yeah.
around us. We are very dead last there. So we are dead last in the South Central District. And overall per pupil spending, not even considering just the local match, but even the combined local and state, we spend $10,498 per student on our public education in Bedford County. So, and then,
Annually.
per student per year.
Right.
So, so he got into some of how we've gotten to dead last. We didn't get there overnight. In 2016, Bedford County appropriated $8.5 million of property tax to the school system. At that point, the whole property tax pool that was gathered by Bedford County ran about $20 million. It was like $19 or $20 million.
Yeah.
10 years later, 2025, we've gone up to a whopping $8.8 million.
Right.
So we have only increased our property tax going to schools over a 10-year period.
3.15%.
3.15%, $300,000.
Right.
But if you look at the rest of county government, started at $10.5 million in the same time period, and it grew to $24.2 million, which is more than double, 131%.
Did you realize that Bedford County, if you take all its employees, is the largest employer in Bedford County?
Yes.
Based on just
It
numbers
is.
of employees.
It is.
So that explains why that number's gone up, because we basically doubled our not the school system, but our other county
Our
government
other
agencies
departments,
and departments
have
have
grown
doubled.
exponentially. Now,
Yes.
I've got a very good question in the comments, and I was going to get to this. Let's go ahead and jump right to it. Mr. Chuck Heflin has a excellent question, which is explain how dollars spent is a gauge of success. Absolutely, it is not necessarily a gauge of success. You can't always buy your way, especially in education, but in anything in life, you can't buy your way out of it. But if you look at these dollars spent, which is we just gave the numbers, we're dead last or fourth from last, depending on if you look at the whole state or the local area, and then you compare these with test scores. If you look at our TCAP test scores, compare it to, which I know is not a popular thing to say, but it is the truth. If you look at a lot of those, we've had a great school administration the last, I don't know how long Dr. Garrett's been there, the last 4, 6, 8 years. Yeah. And we've had great increases in a lot of our scores. But if you compare us score-wise to a lot of these other school systems, we continue to lag as far as you don't see us on any top 5 lists as far as, So there is some, but definitely not 100% correlation there. You can get better bang for your buck if you spend your money wisely, for sure. But there also is the ones that are spending a lot, which I know you can't compare yourself to Williamson Rutherford, but if you look at our TCAP compared to Rutherford, which is adjacent to us, they're getting, they've got proficiency scores in the 70, 80 percentile a lot of times, where we'll be down in the.
And a lot of that has to do with demographics. I mean, it's just the way
some of that is definitely
you got a lot of different factors that go into
a
that.
lot of factors. Yeah.
That still doesn't stop you from wanting to do better and maybe spend more money and maybe improve. You got to keep trying. So that question he brings right there, does an extra dollar?
Yeah, throw another $5,000 a student. Does that fix your scores? I don't know that it does. And I'm just presenting Mr. Obviously Mr. Boutwell is passionate about this.
Yeah.
He sat on the school board. He presents this information every year in, where the numbers have gotten to. I think it's his position. I don't completely disagree with him. The fact that we have kind of lagged in what we're doing for education versus what we've done for general county government. I mean, the numbers bear that out. 3% increase in 10 years, which hasn't kept up with inflation, versus all your other departments have seen 131% increase. That's a lot. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. So he's got some good valid points. How you fix it, I don't know. I mean, we do know a huge tax increase would do it.
But Chuck's question is the right question.
Right.
How do you gauge that?
Yeah,
if you could know,
if
you can know if you could spend $2,000 more dollars per student and know that our improvement in education and our test scores go up and our success rate goes up, and you could put a measure on that, it would be easy to make a decision.
Right.
But now you're stuck. You don't know.
You may throw $2,000 at it, and you move the needle.
Right.
So it's a tough one, but the numbers don't lie, and that's why Mr. Boutwell gives them every year. We're definitely, if dollars are any portion of the fix, we're not spending them. So,
right.
Yeah, we're not increasing.
Well, here's another thing to consider as well. Our decrease in enrollment for the last year and a half. I mean, the trend started last year where we're getting fewer students enrolling in school.
Right.
I wonder how the 26-27 school year will play out. Will that trend continue? If it does, if more people are homeschooling and going to private schools and taking advantage of a voucher or whatever,
right.
If we keep spending the same amount, more per student will get into the mix.
Well,
automatically happen by default.
Yeah.
And it would be good if there's some way we could boost on top of freezing that number and then boosting some more and get some more and just see if there's a way we can track it. Yeah. I don't see how you track it.
Well, I think other than test scores, that's kind of the metric you have to go by. So that was the information. You can go on the school board Facebook, I believe is where they post on meetings, and you can watch him. Actually, honestly, I went back to just rewatch. It wasn't the best presentation. His presentation, you couldn't see him. He was off camera. You could hear him, and you couldn't see his slides, but you can at least hear what he had to say.
Right.
And he made his points. He always makes his points really well. I expect he'll probably make similar points at the finance meetings coming up the next month or so, and we'll hear from him again. The other big kind of hot button issue that was on the agenda was, as we know, I think we know, most people know, the school system has taken over the old TCAT location over on Madison Street.
All right.
And they did kind of a not an inexpensive remodel and have gotten their school maintenance staff in there, but they need to do a major undertaking to get the central office staff into that building. So they've been back and forth a little bit the last few months over this is a construction project. It's going to be a several $1 million construction project. Do they want to do what is called construction manager at risk, or do they want a hard bid? So they have landed on this construction manager at risk process, which has some benefits. They explained why, and I think, it's definitely debatable which is the better one. But what that process is, they have decided to go with Bell Construction, who they've already been using on other projects, take kind of a smaller contract they have with them, not go back out for a new RFQ and look among all the different contractors that could handle that project, use them as the construction manager at risk. Bell brings them a dollar amount on the front end. In this case, we're looking at I've got that on here, $3.8 million. The dollar amount kept shifting during the meeting a little bit, but they ended up with something on paper that said $3.8 million. They then go in, do the research, do their due diligence, figure out what it's going to cost, do the project. And the way construction manager at risk is, if they come in under their dollar figure, they keep a portion of it and the school system keeps a portion of it. So in this case, they're talking an 80-20 split. The school system gets 80% of the savings. Bell gets 20%. Where this differs from obviously a hard bid thing is there's no competitive bidding. So you're taking their word, obviously, in that 3.8 number. That number actually could still change because they're going to go in. They are going to do some stuff for the next 2 months, and they're going to come back with a more solid number. But at some point, there's going to be a contract signed with a number. They're going to then go do the construction. If they come in under the number, they get to keep some of the money. So it's the way it works. So
the acronym RFQ. Would you explain to people what that means?
RFQ and how they got the initial smaller contract is, and they also have done bigger stuff. They did Cartwright. RFQ is a request for qualifications. Okay. No, not quote, qualifications. Okay. It's very important. That's different than than getting bids. Right. RFQ, you don't talk about dollars. You talk about who is the most qualified to do the job. So they have won previous RFQs. They're going to use one of those smaller ones and extend that to this bigger project. And they're going to be the ones that are going to do this.
So estimates and quotes and contracts are out the window, pretty much.
Well, there will be a contract at some point. They were very clear. The school board wants to see the contract before it's signed. And they are, because of what they agreed to Thursday night, which actually they did not even agree to that 3.8. They decided they have 1.5 million sitting in this year's budget to be spent on this project. They just approved the motion with the 1.5 in there for now. Bell will come back in June with what they're calling a more solid.
So there's no outside other firms bidding on this.
Nobody's going to bid against them.
So there's no opportunity for competition here.
Correct. The competition happened back in the RFQ process, which didn't even apply to this job, but applied to other jobs, right, where you looked at several contractors and said, this is the best one for what we're going to do. So some of the arguments they gave for doing this instead of the hard bid is they said, for whatever reason, this is a complex remodel. I don't know exactly what that means, but they felt like if they hard bid it, nobody would know what they were getting into till they get into it, and there would be a bunch of change orders. And
here's the question: how does our county project manager fit into this mix right here? It says Bell Construction is construction manager,
right?
How does our county guy fit into this mix?
He works in conjunction with them, and he's supposed to be the county's representative to make sure that they're not hosing us over. Basically, that's the unofficial version of it. Okay. So he's supposed to be looking over their shoulder and making sure that they're not they're not messing us over. So that's where he fits into that. Spinning back around from these dollar figures back all the way back to debt service. So one way that they talked about they could fund this, and I think this may be the way they end up going since they've already brought it up, is we are sitting on over $60 million in the debt service fund. That primarily needs to get spent on capital project. This is a capital project. They could, if they get it all the dollars in time before the budget, they could do like they did last year with school laptops and a number of other items. literally just do a transfer out of that debt service fund into a capital account and just cut a check for this project, rather than, the other alternative they discussed was splitting the cost over 2 or 3 years, but they got the money sitting in the bank. So I don't
Why
know which
pay
way they're gonna
interest?
go.
Is the interest rate you're earning going to be more or less than what you would pay? I mean,
Well,
where
if
you-
they split over 2 or 3 years, there would be no interest either way because they would just be sucking out of the
Yeah,
budget each
right.
year. So they're earning interest on the $60.5 million that's in the bank. If you look at the recent reports, as is happening with the market, that's tied to the prime rate. Prime rate's been dropping, so each month they're getting a little less interest on their balance. So, it all depends on where you think interest rates are headed.
Yeah.
So, but that's what's going on in the school system. They did mention, as we've talked about this a lot, the school attendance continues to lag. We're still down 250 students, roughly, give or take, over this time last year,
Yeah.
which is where we've been all year. So, last item I want to touch on, this was not in one of the meetings I was at. This, I actually had a separate meeting. I went up and spent about an hour at the property assessor's office, I believe Wednesday. And then we posted a little something on Facebook,
Right.
which got a number of comments about property appraisals. It's that time that happens, I believe, every 5 years currently in Bedford County. Different counties do it in slightly different time frames. I think most you can go 6. Some have,
Lowest
have
3.
narrowed it. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, there's some smaller ones. But either way, going into the U.S. Postal Service on Friday, we were told, is all new appraisals for every parcel and piece of property in Bedford County. As you might imagine, in the last 5 years, the values have gone up. I was able to review mine Wednesday. That was part of why I went there, just to get a feel for if I would get sticker shock, because, a lot of people I think are. And I would say when you get yours in the mail, you are going to get sticker shock. My home, which has what isn't even 5 years old, it hasn't even existed the whole time of the reappraisal. The increase was just under 50%.
Wow.
So big increase.
in less than 5 years.
Yeah, in my case, it's about 3 years since they had the very first, because the first year I moved in my home, I lucked out. I moved in like a September, October. They missed me that year on the property tax. I just got taxed on the parcel. So mine, I've only paid 3 years on the actual structure. But yeah, just under 50%. That's, as far as I know, and I'm not seeing the actual thing in the mail yet. Mine, I checked my mail today. It's not, mine didn't arrive. So maybe I'll get on Monday or Tuesday. The missing piece to that puzzle is, by state law, they can't use this appraisal to generate additional revenue.
Right.
So they have to, well,
They have to adjust the rate
the
to make it
state
neutral.
gives them what is called a revenue neutral rate,
Right.
new certified tax rate, which in this case we posted these, and I don't have all these. I just got the two big ones. Bedford County's going to be right at $1.50. City of Shelbyville right at $1. Currently, if you live in Bedford County, you're at $2.32, and if you're in the city, it's $1.48. So that's how much the rate will go down. So I took, while I was in there, so I could understand the process, which I kind of knew, but she walked me right all the way through it. If I looked at my house, which had gone up just under 50%, applied the new rate to it, I actually technically would owe just a smidge, enough to feel like they'd done something, but not really, just a hair less property tax next year than I paid this year.
Okay.
So it's the way that math worked. So those preliminary rates are not final because there is now an appeals process that will happen. You can do an informal appeal with the property assessor's office starting this upcoming week. If you get yours and you say, man, this is way out of whack, you can actually go in and appeal it to them informally. If you don't agree with what they tell you after you've had your informal, there's what's called the Board of Equalization. They will start having hearings. I should have gotten those dates and I had them and I didn't bring them. I believe starting as early as May, maybe sometime in May. But either way, the property assessor's office can tell you that. That is an official appeals process where you go in front of a board of appointed people. They look at your new appraisal and say, and you bring in your reasoning why you think it's wrong.
Right.
And they will review that for you. So you've got a couple of different ways to appeal that. And yeah, like I said, I think there will be some sticker shock. That's why I did the post that I did that kind of walked through the process and explained it.
Right.
I saw the comments, a lot of them, even from people currently in county government, said, hey, yeah, this is year one, wait till year two. And that is the case. These rates, which are given to us by the state, they have to be approved by the two bodies, by the city council, by the county commission. if they feel like they need more money, say to fund more schools, or they need more police officers, more firefighters, they can set the rate wherever they want to. So, and a lot of times it seems like in the past, I know locally it's that second year that they tend to.
That's what happened
bump it
last
up.
time.
That's what happened last time. And I know people are gun shy from that. So they will have the final say on the rate. They could, I mean,
Yeah.
technically in June when they vote on it, they could go ahead and raise the rate this time. However, all of them on the county side and half of them on the city side are up for elections. So you'd feel
Oh,
like
it's going to
that
happen after that.
they probably will wait till next year would be
Yeah.
the first time they would seriously consider it, I would think.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with those. You will get those in the mail. I kind of expected mine to come today if they had really mailed them from Shelbyville on Friday, but mine wasn't in
Well, I'm
today's
going to be
mail,
watching
so
my mailbox.
it'll be there. It will not happen. That's why I put out those preliminary tax rates. I asked that question. Those tax rates won't be in the packet. All you're going to see is my house was worth $400,000. Now it's $600,000. You're going to think, oh, my property tax bill is going to go up 50%, and that's not the case.
Right.
But it may, which is not to say it will not go up. Some people will have a more than 50% jump. That's the way this works.
Right.
Some of them are going to exceed the average. Your bill will go up. Some of them, of course, very few of them, but some of them will be below the average. Their
Right.
bill will go down. That's how you get to the average. So if you get your bill, you got questions, it will have, I'm sure, the contact information for the assessor's office. I met with them Wednesday. They're going to have all hands on deck
Yeah.
starting on Monday. They are expecting phone calls.
Well, I'm
They're
sure.
expecting to hear from people. They know they're going to hear from people. So don't be shy and say, oh, I don't want to bother
Yeah.
anybody. They're expecting you.
Sure.
So yeah, this is not a surprise.
Yeah.
So, with that, I think, man, I've talked way too long. And I think I've
Well, you
covered
had a
pretty
lot
much what I
to, you had a lot to cover here.
a lot
Josh.
went on this
Yeah.
week. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was kind of the size of it. Hopefully it was informative and got people some information they might
Yeah.
not have gotten otherwise. So maybe we could hear from our sponsors. one
Yes,
more
let's take a
time.
break and hear from our sponsors, and we'll come back and take a look in the week ahead, Josh.
Yeah.
There's not as much, but there's still some
Couple
key
big
meetings.
meetings coming up this
Key
week.
meetings coming
Yeah.
up. So let's take a break and we'll be right back.
For clear vision and trusted care, choose Cutting Edge Optical. We offer comprehensive eye exams powered by 2020 exams, expert contact lens fittings, and a wide selection of quality frames to match your style and budget. Need glasses fast? We even offer same-day eyeglasses to keep you seeing clearly without the wait. Our experienced team is committed to personalized service and helping you see your best every day. Visit Cutting Edge Optical at 1114 North Main Street in Shelbyville, or call 931-488-5778 to schedule your appointment today.
Get the results you want with the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
When you're ready to buy or sell in Middle Tennessee, you want someone who knows this community inside and out. Meet Diane and Madison Arnold, Shelbyville's trusted real estate team with decades of local experience and award-winning results. Whether it's finding your dream home, pricing your property to sell, or navigating every step of the transaction with confidence, they're with you from start to finish. As part of Coldwell Banker Southern Realty, they pair hometown expertise with powerful market tools to help you move with confidence. Call Diane and Madison today and experience the personal service and local knowledge that makes all the difference.
Doing something.
Nope.
All righty. Welcome back. We're going to go through next week. Josh, what do you got?
I just have two things on my official government calendar. I got plenty going on this week, but two things I'm going to be attending. Tuesday evening is the monthly county committee meetings. This is Rules and Legislative, Public Safety, and Courthouse and Property.
Right.
At the first one of those, Rules and Legislative, I will be part of that one because I believe I will anyways. They normally ask me to speak on it because I've been part of the committee.
Right.
This will be the discussion of the senior property tax freeze and what action, if any, the county commission or this particular piece of the county commission, this committee will take on it if
Yeah.
they will send this forward to be reviewed by the finance committee and hopefully to the full county commission. That's my hope, but we'll see what happens at that. Other than that, I looked through the agendas of the other couple. I don't remember anything that's going to be a hot button issue, but if something comes up, I'll be there
Yeah.
and we'll definitely talk about it next Saturday. And then Thursday evening, City Planning Commission. I sit on that one. The big item on the agenda there is the re-review of the Remington Farms
Right.
Pod over on Union Street. I don't think there's going to be extensive discussion. There may be, it may go on for a while. It's been sent back to planning midstream. The city council has been fairly indicated strongly that they're going to go ahead and pass it. So for the planning commission to sit there and debate it for an hour and a half when they already know the final outcome seems like it
Yeah,
would be a
and you
lot.
went and you said midstream, right? Because you're between the first and second reading on this.
Yeah, it was sent back just for a quick review before they vote on it in a couple of weeks. So I think we'll review, and I think the main reason to have it there is they're going to review the pattern book, which is the official document that's going to get signed. Make sure there's no technical deficiencies left in that. We found
Right.
different things at different meetings that have had to be fixed. So make sure all the technical elements are correct. It still doesn't fix the infrastructure issues that I've been concerned about the whole time, but we don't want it to become law with technical problems in it that require fixing
Yeah.
down the road. So that I think that'll be the main part of that review. And then other than that, I think there was a couple minor things on the agenda. Honestly, not a whole lot beyond that one item.
Right.
So I think it was a fairly short agenda. The agenda is on the city website already if you want to look at
Yeah.
it before. And then Friday morning, I didn't put it on my rundown here, but I will be at a fine government event, a ribbon cutting for the grand reopening of Walmart. If you haven't been to Walmart recently, they have they've done a pretty major remodel.
So they get a ribbon cutting for this?
Well, I don't know if there's gonna be a ribbon or not. It's some kind of official reopening, but I did notice on Facebook this week and I've noticed it in person when I was shopping at Walmart this week. The space that used to have the Wayback Burgers has a Dunkin'. America Runs on Dunkin' thing on the wall now. So inquiring minds want to know, do we need a second Dunkin'?
So we're going to have
Donuts
a
in town?
Dunkin' there and then one across the street, maybe.
That's the first indication by the fact that there's a Dunkin' sign on the wall there. So yeah, that would be a lot of that. If that is the case, would that technically make them our 9th coffee shop? You're gonna have to change the coffee gangs of Shelbyville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dunkin', Walmart.
You could have like a big Dunkin' and a little Dunkin'.
Yeah,
So,
probably
yeah.
so. Yeah.
So we're
All
could
right.
be another one. So we'll see. I don't know anything official on that or why that happened or if one's staying open, the other one closed. I don't know any of that. I've not heard. I saw the same post everybody else did.
We
So-
have two rivals now. We have number of coffee shops versus
Yeah.
number of gas stations. So obviously we run on caffeine as much as we do gasoline. It's
Well,
just
I'd always heard from a friend that North Main was called the Chicken Strip originally too. We got a lot of chicken restaurants. So how many chicken places we got there? We got a fair number.
a few,
we
but
got
not nine.
Bojangles and we got KFC and there's a few chicken places going.
Yeah,
So,
Popeyes.
Popeyes and so not as many.
Zaxby's.
We got Zaxby's. So yeah, there's a lot of chicken too. So
Chicken
not as
and
many as
coffee.
coffee though.
No,
Not
no,
as
for
many as
sure.
coffee. So
Well, Josh, I guess we're through.
I think that we're through. I hope so. I'm sure people are tired of hearing from us. It's almost 10:50.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
We've gone longer than anticipated, but we
Yeah.
appreciate everybody watching and hanging in there with us
Yeah.
and playing along. Thank you for your questions and comments. We'll be back again, same time, same place next week.
Same channel. Come back and join us.
Have a great weekend.